Yes, hi everybody. I'm Mike Goodwin, adjunct professor. I work with Alumni Relations at the college, and I'm the vice president of vice president of MPA Alumni Network, and the president of the Human Services Alumni Network. And I'll allow Greg to introduce himself.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Gregory Lewis, MBA graduate from MCNY, and I work in the school's library. Been here for the last 10 years. Great job. Love helping students.
Right. So we're actually having a little discussion today about, we just recently did a webinar called Collegiate Men of Color, where we spoke about the disparities that exist with men of color in higher education. Some of the challenges, some of the circumstances that create this disparity. So Greg and I are just going to touch on some of the major points that were raised during that webinar. And I'm going to begin just with quoting this statistic that was came from the National Center for Education Statistics, where we have this is from 2016, that 36% of Black males graduate college and 40% of Hispanic males graduate, and these two are the lowest graduation rate in the country with respect to ethnicities. So this is just giving, I guess, a backdrop to the topic and the backdrop to, why this is, an issue as as white males, I think close to 50, and Asian males who top the chart as well in the 50s. So, that's a big disparity between the ethnicities. So, one of the major points that we discussed during that was really the representation of Black men and Hispanic men in education with respect to teaching. And I guess, Greg, we both could talk about that, because I can just state this. I didn't have a Black male instructor until I got into college.
True.
So I went through elementary, middle school, high school. And my first Black instructor was in college, and actually my first time in college, I was at HBCU, so that was a given, right? But that was my experience as far as seeing someone like me standing in front of the class.
First Black teacher, homeroom teacher in the 9th grade. Met her at Andrew Jackson High School in Queens. And I was asking her what class she actually taught. She was, I'm your homeroom teacher. And I'm like, okay, that's not a course. So, and she's like, no, I'm a teacher. I take the attendance. And I'm like, oh, okay. But she was open. She was willing to talk about your needs. If she saw something wrong, gladly tried to point you. But that was it until I got to college.
Right. And what about a Black male? What was?
No, I didn't meet any of them until college.
Right. So that's even begins to set the I want to say the impression, as we are, instructed by, and again, teachers are in authority positions. True. Right? They're in leadership positions. And so in school, we're there from the majority of the day, looking at K through 12. You're there from 9 to 5, 8 to 3, or whatever the time span is. And so you're
freshman year, I was in school from 8 a.m. to 4:30.
And so
high school.
Right. And so we're looking at that position, authoritative position, leadership position, guidance position has always been someone who did not look like us.
I think that it wouldn't affect us, but it comes down to the student themselves asking a question. and the answer they receive is always short. It's never a complete answer. So you
Right.
have to go ask other people. And then you feel like you're getting a runaround. And there are just too many things at that stage in my life, especially in high school, that distract your focus, because it's like people weren't willing to help. That's the only way I can describe it.
Right. And also, too, it's this level of comfortability. And just to throw a quick stat at you, 3%, and this was an article by Jonell Knox, a professor at Bronx Community and College of Staten Island, and he referenced this in his article in 2019. And it comes from statistics that was taken in 2018, that 3% of professors, instructors in college, 3% were Black males and 3% were Hispanic males. 80% of college professors were all white males. So again, we look at the level of comfortability, our ability to speak to certain topics, freely, and this feeling comfortable in doing that in the classroom setting when, we are constantly looking at individuals that are not like us.
Right.
I
often wondered, because most of my friends did not go to college. When we finished high school, they generally got a job and they went to the military. And I often wondered, the guys who wind up, what was the difference in their background and mine? Because I know guys who, I would say, compared to my family, their families were a little bit more affluent.
Right.
Like dad was the coach or assistant principal or something, and it enabled them to send their kids on to school. And I heard about that in terms of the number of us going to college.
Right.
The background that we came from, that they were encouraged to go where I was encouraged to get a good job. And it makes me wonder, do you think of it in the sense that financially, those people who are financially better off were able to go to school?
Right.
And the rest of us just had to go get a job.
Right. And that's a good point, because I know for a fact when I went, my first introduction to college, really, I went on a music scholarship, but school wasn't, I went there, but I didn't really do what I was supposed to do. I was young and just was totally,
Right. It's new and you're experimenting. So one of the questions I wanted to ask the panel, unfortunately, I missed that. Their backgrounds, what propelled them to achieve their goals.
Right.
There's a gentleman I met here before we moved to this location. Incarceration made him go to school. And I remember I worked for the Daily News, and we had education program where we would take the papers up to Rikers Island to the youth cells and find out who didn't graduate high school and put them in programs so they could get their equivalency diploma.
Wow.
Thinking that when they got out of here, they would go on to, because they kind of opened their eyes to more. For a lot of people, it worked. For most, it's an excuse to get out of the cells and possibly get out of here quicker.
Right.
So it's always, to me, the motivating factor. What is it that's pushing you forward? I used to, when I came here, because I came here, I was in my 40s. And people, why'd you come? And I said, fear. And people laughed at me, and I'm like, no, seriously. That keeps you trying harder, being scared of something,
right?
Getting left behind, being left out.
Right.
And I've told everybody this story about having a great job and losing it, circumstances that I had no control over, and applying for work and going to all these places, and they're telling me, we love your experience, but you don't have a degree.
Right.
And I was like, wow, I'm going back to school.
Right.
And, I sitting in a classroom thinking I might be the oldest person in here, and then realizing I'm the only one communicating with the professors. I was like, yeah, I got this.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, I can do this.
Mm-hmm.
But my old boss said to me, you're going to be disappointed when you graduate. And I said, why? He said, because now you have a degree and they're going to afford you.
Mm-hmm.
And I always say, if you were 23 or 24, it'd make a difference.
Right.
Because you'd just be happy to get that job.
Mm-hmm.
At your age, with your experience, you're looking for more money and they don't want to pay that.
Mm-hmm.
You realize they could take a year-old and pay them half what you want and they're
Right.
going to be happy.
Right.
So it's like being in between a rock and a hard place.
It's
I started thinking, if I'm thinking like that, how do I motivate a student?
right. Right. It's so, and a couple of things. So just to go back to, leaving, because I left college, my mother told me, all right, get a job. It wasn't get your behind, stay your behind in that school, and finish your courses. That wasn't the instructions. The instruction was, all right, if you leave, you better come home and get a job. And so that's what I did, and as you mentioned, went through the workforce and did well, and then got to a point where at one point I was clinical director of an outpatient program, drug program. And then when I left that program, went to go somewhere else, and everybody was telling me, oh, you don't have a degree? Oh, you don't have a degree? You don't have a degree? And the same thing, same situation. Your experience is stellar, but you need a degree, and there was a point, and again, going to MCNY, when I went, to MCNY, same situation with you, older, I'm sitting in the classroom like, wow, okay, I feel kind of odd. So we look at, as you mentioned, some of the things that propelled us, motivated us, when we look at things culturally, especially with, men of color, we can be, depending on the background, we can be pushed to work before anything else. That becomes the priority, get a job, and I'm going to tie the other part in. If we don't have individuals, and this is not a sweeping statement, but if we don't have teachers that identify with us,
right,
to help motivate us and push us, and then we're getting the other pressures from where we need to get a job, college now becomes not a priority.
True. Yeah, you lose interest, because you're thinking in high school, the most important thing for me when I finish here is to get a job.
Get a job.
Right. So, and since you had no one to encourage you, you're like, yeah, I'm out of here. I'm happy to be out. Let me go find that work.
Right.
Take care of what I got to take care of.
Mm-hmm.
So when people talk to you about college, it's like, why? I'm working. I have an income. And how do you explain to them that there could be more?
Right.
Yeah, because for a lot of, and when I went back to my own neighborhood and started the mentoring program, the resentment I got from some of the guys who I grew up with, because it was like, hey, what do you want to do this for?
Right.
So it was like, well, I can't help you because you're happy where you are, or you're content with where you are. I can help your son. I can help your daughter. And it was like, okay. And talking to those kids, and you realize, wow, there's no one who ever said to them, you can do more. And there's no one who ever said, you can get out of this neighborhood.
Right.
So the best thing in the world, just to be able to tell you that this is capable. This is something you can do. You just have to apply yourself.
Right.
And I felt bad that no one ever said that before.
And again, we look at culture, we look at, socioeconomic, factors. All this plays into, that decision on which way you're going to go, once high school is over. And then you have those who struggle in high school, and how is high school really preparing them or motivating them to, go into a college, or if they do go to college. And I got a stat where they talked about where in very few met the New York State Education Department criteria for being college ready. Those who are leaving high school, by the standard among students scheduled to graduate in 2010, only 9% of Black males and 11% of Latino males were considered to be college ready. So then we look at the factor of if some do go, and the struggles that they have in the first year or two is like, what, why am I doing this? I don't have to do this. I can just go and go make some money.
Well, I see that means that's where mentorship should start.
Right.
And I compare that to the fact that you're in high school and there's no one there to help guiding you through, but ROTC is there. They're there going, hey, we can put you in the service.
Right.
Wow, that's no one is here to help me get better, me through this. Someone who can get me out of here.
Right. So I can go into the service, do 4 years, do my tour, whatever, get paid, get all the benefits when I come out, and okay, let's do that.
So to me, the question has always been, how do we motivate?
Right.
And we're not in a position where we can because we're not in the schools.
And that is a major and continuous discussion where, and I know they have that one, what's that program initiative they did, something with New York City Teach or something like that. I may be getting the title of it wrong, but where they were really trying to get Black males in K through 12, and that's one part. But then again, we also need their presence in college as well.
True.
Because now it gets tougher, right? Now it's more the expectation and the responsibility and accountability is placed more on that student now, because you're of college age, you're at this level in academia where, you're expected now to do, and again, overall, I will say with MCNY, we do have more of a presence as I'm an adjunct. We do have more of a presence in MCNY, but, that's still a small school. And I was working on the second master's in a CUNY, and I had finally I got one Black male professor, and again, we're not there.
Well, I think if they go to the right school in terms of college, but we have to get them in high school. We have to get them in their freshman, sophomore years to actually motivate them, to make them believe in them can go further.
Right.
And I sat here and I think we've been at this location for 5 years now, 6 years. And I sit here and I go, I talk to most of the education students. I've seen 2 males in the education program in the entire time I've been here.
Right.
And I thought, wow, so it's not viewed as a man's job.
Oh, right. You are so 100% correct. It's not. That's not what we do. We go, we're managing businesses or, but teaching, that's not for us, and again, it's not understanding how important that is for, young adults.
True. Because that means they're being taught by people who really don't care.
Right. Or, don't have, and even if they care, it's not, I want to say, and I said this before, it's like you hear me, but you don't really understand me.
True.
So yes, you may care. Yes, you may want me to do well, but there's issues that I'm dealing with, that you were never exposed to or you never had to. So there's so many other factors that play into my academic journey. And then the level of comfortability I may have to share with you about that, may be challenged, because as I'm talking to you about it, you're almost dismissive, or you can be kind of like, oh, okay, well, just keep trying, you get it, but okay, so you're not hearing what I'm telling you,
Yeah, it's a difference in who you're talking to. One of the things that I enjoyed coming here, meeting professors who were me, first of all,
right,
but took the time to talk to me before or after class, to gauge my interest.
right,
What was I trying to do? What did I want to get out of this? And how can I help you? And that, I mean, I'm sure it happens at other places, but I can't think of them. I can't name them. People, I think, are lucky when they find that.
right,
Which is what makes this place good to me. I
yes,
wish we could offer more,
right,
but it is a start.
right. I agree.
And the question now becomes, how do we get them?
And good. It's another piece that I spoke about is when we look at the HBCUs, where people are like, okay, that's the case, just go to a historically Black college, university, and everything you want is there. But the truth is, the HBCUs only graduate around 20-something%, right, of Black students.
Mm-hmm.
So then you have the other 80% that are not at HBCUs. So then we still are looking at the majority of us don't go to HBCUs.
No, or even that, it's a question of affordability.
Yes.
It's a great to say at school, but most of us can't afford that. My daughter, who I was like pushing to go to one of those schools, and she got in there, and sophomore year, and she was like, "This is great," and I thought, "Okay, wonderful." And then she said to me, "But it's not preparing me for what's out there." And I'm like, "What do you mean?" She says, "I'm surrounded by me."
Right. Right.
I'm comfortable and I'm learning. I have people who are engaging me, but when I'm out there, I'm by myself. When I apply for that job, when I go for that interview, it's me and 50, 60 other white people. It's not me and a bunch of Black people.
Right.
When I get that job in that office, it's me. Sometimes you look around and you're the only Black person there.
Right.
I don't think it's preparing me for that. So she left and graduated from Pace.
And that is such a factor.
Yeah.
And so another piece that, and we can really use this to introduce one of the things that we're doing in the library now, is, at a HBCU, you're enriched with literature that speaks to our accomplishments.
Right.
And then you have the other, which I call predominantly Black institutions that are not in HBCUs, that we don't have this. Even though the schools are predominantly Black or Hispanic, we still don't have this robust and rich supply of materials and literature, that speaks to our history or speaks to us.
Yeah, see, I used to think that was, if I have you, why do I have to go get it? You're already here, so I don't have to go get it to bring you here.
Right.
And my thinking is, yeah, but you keep me here. Because how many students come in here and go, so where's the book section? And then they're like, that's all you got? And they're like, be engaged. They want to read about themselves.
Right.
But it's like, I read that 10 years ago, or I read that when I was a teenager.
Right.
So that to me is something that we have to grow.
Right. And I know that there's something that is being done in the library right now, if you want to speak on that with respect to
just in the last 2 weeks, we have enriched our collection of Black authors, both in education and in just good reading, our history. the things that we have achieved that isn't spoken of. Although I would still like to get some books on the Moors. We're doing better.
Right, right, and that's, you know, and again, give Kate Adler, you know, her you know, recognition, because, you know, and I'm sure you pushed a lot of this too, you know, but to really begin to create a collection, you know, of books that, you know, speak to our heritage, that speak to our history and our accomplishments, you know, as well. So definitely, and, you know, I put this out there, you know, a recommendation to others who may, you know, who can recommend books that they may want to see in our library, you know,
Right.
you know, as well.
Well, I mean, this working here is a new experience for me.
Mm-hmm.
And it's nice to walk through the shelves and see something that will engage, someone to catch your interest, because everybody's not reading a textbook all the time.
Right.
And I actually think good reading material helps you kind of relax and work better when you are in that textbook.
Mm-hmm.
Now, call it summer reading, call it, you know, just something to do when you're home and it's raining or whatever, and you've done your homework. It
Right.
engages you.
Right.
And one of the things that scares me is we don't read. Because it's on the news. You know, it's on TV. You know, so we don't have to read it.
Right.
And I go, you're right. The only thing that's not on the news or not in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
So we're never going to know that part.
Right. And now with everything being digital, it's like you don't have to pick up books anymore. So we're moving to a certain degree almost further and further away from that, because all I have to do now is Google it. I remember before when, you know, in my younger years, and my sister was going to Hunter College, she would take me to Grand Army Plaza Library with her. And she would be there all day in books, right? And you know, and now it's like, oh, what's that? What you want to know? Boom, 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 got it.
True.
You know, you don't need to pick up a book any longer to get information. It's right there in front of you, you know, in your phone. You know, so you know.
But I always think that that's a little incomplete.
Yes, I agree.
That answers an immediate question.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
And I hope that it makes you curious for more.
Right, because it doesn't allow you to gather the fullness of whatever it is you're looking to find out. It just gives you the specific. That's it.
Right.
You know, nothing surrounding whatever the fact that you're looking to ascertain. Nothing surrounding that. Just that within itself. You know.
But I'm always stuck with the question of how I know what the problem is. How do I can't, but how do I engage it? How do I present it and have other people wanting to engage themselves to move with it?
Right. And that's a good point, because that's what I was going to go into next. And one of the things that we spoke about was the lack of collaboration amongst us, you know, and I want to say to certain, you know, we touched on this during the webinar, where sometimes if we ask for help, if we try to, you know, as Black males or men of color in general, we feel vulnerable. It's a sign of weakness. It's a sign of that you're ineffective if you can't, you know, so therefore we will live within ourselves trying to get it right or just struggling with it. And then the next thing you know, we're dropping out. And so that's one of the things that we really want to put in place at the college, is to begin to create a forum where we can begin to support each other, work with each other, you know, alumni and current students, faculty, current students, alum, you know, begin to work together to help, you know, each other through that academic, you know, path.
I think that's great. I do question how to start it, because I'm always thinking of bringing alumni back.
Right.
And I know that they're busy. They have lives, careers, jobs. I understand that. But if we instituted programs where they would just come in and talk about their achievements after leaving here, it's a motivational thing.
Right. And that's where you have me, because me being the vice president of the MPA alumni and the president of the Human Services alumni, and now working with Alumni Relations. I am the contact. I'm the plug to the alum. So, really looking to introduce this, and we're going to begin with, we have to set the date for a discussion, a table talk, where we can begin at least that process. So I've reached out to, since the last webinar, I've reached out to a couple, actually some alumni have reached out to me, telling me that they want to be part of this, and so I want to say within the next 2 weeks, we'll do an official launch date where we will begin that first, and it's going to be virtual, understanding the time that we're in right now, where it's going to be that opportunity for, current students and alum to kind of get together and begin to, work with each other, so for some alum that can share their experience to hopefully work with some of the some of the current students, in their academic journey.
I think that's important. I don't know how many people like Toloki, but I remember he would talk to the new students coming in for the business program.
Right.
And he would actually ask me to speak to them.
Mm-hmm.
Just why are you here? What do you want to get out of this? And let me tell you my experience.
Mm-hmm.
And I had not seen that before, and I definitely don't see it now.
Yeah, and it's something though, that is something that we are doing. We do have, and I did this a couple of semesters ago, where I had alum meet with new students and just welcome them into the various programs. And we're looking to do that again in September, where we're going to create a forum where I'll have a representative of each degree program, speak to new students, welcome them into the program.
Hell, if I can help in any way,
yep,
my number.
Definitely, we got you.
I'm really sorry I missed the webinar.
We're sorry that you wasn't there too, because I know there's so much, as you're sharing now. There's so much
because there were things that I wanted to talk to the other panelists about in terms of their background and how they.
Right.
And I don't. It's hard here because most of the people I talk to here who have succeeded are women.
Right. Right, which is the majority of the college.
And I'm thinking that's the majority of most.
Yes.
So I wanted to bring in some women to whatever discussion was taking place. Like here, I have do you know Ramandi Thermidor?
Yes, I know.
We graduated together.
Right.
She's a great person.
Mm-hmm.
And I think she would be very helpful here in terms of those discussions.
Mm-hmm.
But there's so few of us.
Right.
And so most alumni that I've spoken to is like, I don't want to come back. And I'm like, what happened to you that you don't want to come back? Because you graduated, you're doing well.
Right.
And this school had a part to play in that.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever misgivings you might have, you need to put that aside.
Right. And again, that is our efforts to, and I believe once we start the process, more and more will be willing to participate and want to participate, and then as we work with the current students as they become alum, because they eventually will become alum, right? Mm-hmm. And then they, as a result of what they received, they want to give back as well. So the chain has to start somewhere, and that is our purpose, to start that, to get that going.
It's a great idea.
Right.
And reach out to everyone who has started their own business.
Yes,
bring them back here.
Mm-hmm.
Celebrate them.
Exactly. So that's the main points. Again, looking at the need for more, men of color in teaching positions. Looking at the need for to really begin at I want to say even at the high school level, to begin to get these young males into the mindset of the importance of, continuing education, and at the collegiate level to get us to begin to work with each other, to help each other and support each other through the process.
One of the things I like here is they've initiated this Adopt a High School program.
Yes.
I think it's great. I think more of us should be involved.
Yes. And fortunately, I'm scheduled to teach one of those classes. So I am definitely, I am definitely on board with that.
All right. That's a great thing. I know Tina's involved with the Pathways program.
Yeah.
And I hear that's going well. I hope you can continue that.
Yeah, so do I. But all right. So I guess that's it for now. And again, we've want to introduce the collection of books at the library now. And we're looking to build on that. We're going to have some in the Manhattan campus. We're looking to put some in the Bronx campus as well. And within the next 2 weeks, we'll definitely launch the date for the first discussion table, where we'll begin to bring us together, being men of color in the college and alum together to begin to work with each other, moving forward.
I think those are for you.
Thank you. I need you to come by and check out the ad stuff.
Need to come by and check out what?
Check out the books that are
Yes.
up. I put up the display because I want to know anything you'd like to add so we can get it.
Okay, fantastic. Will do.
And next time I won't hear so everybody doesn't.
I know, right? But it's okay.
Because even when I say I'm in a meeting, they're like, "Hey," I'm like,
Right. All
hey,
right.
Thank. I'm sorry I missed that event. If there's another one, I will definitely be there.
Most certainly.
If I have to carry my laptop and do it in the street.
Whatever works, right? All right, then, y'all. We're going to sign off. Then.
All right, man. Take care.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.